Has there ever been a video game genre that's more love or hate than the open world genre? Simultaneously coveted but also occasionally feared, open world titles have dominated the medium for the best part of 2 decades now, and are at the forefront of the industry's many technological leaps and innovations. Because of this, we have been treated to a ton of gorgeous-looking open-world titles. Players need reasons to explore a given landscape, and it certainly helps if your game features multiple stunning settings, a core element that has only taken greater prominence with the advent of photo modes in recent years. But what are the most beautiful games of all? Well, sit down and get comfy. I'm Ewan, this is WhatCulture Gaming, and here are the 10 most beautiful open-world video games you must play. Number 10. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. Initially released in 2011 but then released about a bajillion times afterwards by Bethesda, there's a reason why the Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim's world is still one of the most recognizable and acclaimed RPG open worlds in gaming history. Fresh off the success that was the Elder Scrolls IV, Bethesda decided to switch things up by moving the action from the lush plains and forests of the Imperial City to the snowy tundra and mountain ranges of Tamriel's frozen north in Skyrim. Bethesda's creation engine was specifically redesigned for the development of Skyrim, and the world was built with every intention of pushing the boundaries of what was possible in open-world design. The end result is a game that has some of the most breathtaking scenery, as well as the opportunity for adventure around almost every corner. And whilst the frozen tundras and mountain ranges are undoubtedly the face of the game and what players first think of when Skyrim is mentioned, each and every province has its own unique design, theme, and atmosphere. It's incredibly immersive, even with the obligatory Bethesda jank included. Number 9. Death Stranding. The first release produced by Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions following their move from Konami, Death Stranding is a 2019 open-world action game that proved not all apocalyptic wastelands have to be ugly. The game sees players take control of Sam Porter Bridges, a courier tasked with rebuilding bridges and a ravaged world through delivering essential supplies and hooking up connections between settlements. There's sort of an eerie sensation to be had in falling head over heels in love with the atmosphere of a world absolutely ravaged by monstrous creatures, but Death Stranding really is an experience players shouldn't miss out on. Number 8. Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Perhaps the most underrated entry in Ubisoft's flagship franchise next to the criminally overlooked Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Black Flag was instrumental in putting the series back on track following the divisive titles that were Assassin's Creed Revelations and Assassin's Creed 3. Whilst there were murmurs and questions over just how viable an Assassin's Creed based on the golden age of piracy would be pre-release, Black Flag won over fans and critics alike with its colourful collection of well-written and memorable characters, as well as its amazing open world, which is still one of the most ambitious Ubisoft have produced to date. Black Flag looks just as stunning at sea as it does on land, and the game has so much variety in its locations, but somehow manages to make every single one of them look positively picture-worthy. From the bustling cities of Kingston, Nassau, and Havana, the lush forests and tropical islands, the deep underwater coves and sunken shipwrecks, to the wooden port settlements and ancient Mayan temples, there's so much for players to immerse themselves in Black Flag. Honestly, one of my favorite gaming memories of the last couple generations has been just sailing on the Jackdaw listening to all the lads singing shanties. It's so peaceful and lush, and partially why Black Flag is my favorite entry in the entire franchise. Number 7. Grand Theft Auto 5. Grand Theft Auto V was released in 2013 and sees players return to Los Santos, a city that featured in GTA San Andreas, as well as the countryside and rural lands outside of the city. The bulk of the game's development was spent on making this one of the most vibrant, stacked, and alive worlds players had ever seen, with the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine being revamped to better handle the distance capabilities and 2 separate pieces of software, Euphoria and Bullet, brought in to power the animations and rendering. Google Maps and real-world tours of Los Angeles and Southern California were conducted by Rockstar employees to ensure a faithful reconstruction of the area, which leaves the game with a real sense of immersion while still retaining the typical Grand Theft Auto wackiness. Number 6. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released by Nintendo in 2017 after over 5 years in development, and is still one of the best examples of ticking every single box when it comes to making a legendary open-world title. Breath of the Wild follows Link, as per, awaking 100 years after an event known as the Great Calamity has ravaged Hyrule, and seen the land enslaved by Ganon and the Divine Beasts. Very little direction is ever given to players about following the story, however, and anyone picking up the game is more than welcome to freely roam around this breathtaking land from pretty much the off. Building a world that players could freely roam around and tackle in their own way was something Nintendo stressed was at the forefront of the game, and the visuals and stunning design of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild really creates a title that players can truly lose themselves in for hours on end. Number 5. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher 3 was developed and published by CD Projekt Red in 2015 and still stands as one of the finest examples of an RPG open-world game ever released. Witcher 3's huge mountain ranges, tranquil wilderness, open skies, and lush forests serve as a stunning set of locations and complement the fantastical moments of magic and monsters perfectly. Creating this world took over 3.5 years to develop, and CD Projekt Red's Red Engine 3 was used to ensure everything was as immersive as possible. Number 4. Marvel's Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man on the PlayStation is certainly not the first game to ever feature the Big Apple in the world of gaming, and isn't even the first Spider-Man game to bring it to life, with the wall crawler obviously hailing from the borough of Queens. But there's just something about Spider-Man's leap to the next generation of consoles that makes this one of the most beautiful open-world games ever made. Whether it's during day, dusk, rain, or night, swinging through the bustling streets of New York City always feels like a thrilling experience, and the experience is only taken to the next level on PS5, whether you're playing the remastered version or exploring the city during wintertime in Spider-Man Miles Morales. The streets are constantly lined with life and the hustle and bustle players would expect to find in NYC, while the rooftops and skyscrapers are just as detailed and worth visiting, peppered with iconic Marvel landmarks throughout. The issue of creating vibrant and interesting open worlds has notoriously plagued Spider-Man and most superhero video games over the years, but in Marvel Spider-Man, players are able to swing through one of the most stunning looking worlds in the medium. Number 3. Red Dead Redemption 2. Very few games experience the level of hype pre-release that Red Dead 2 experienced back in October 2018, but even fewer games out there actually managed to live up to and smash that expectancy quite like Rockstar's Wild West Epic did. I still think it's the best game ever made, but you know, I might be a bit biased seeing as how I spend my spare time practicing Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday quotes in the bathroom mirror. The prequel to Rockstar's first foray into the world of John Marston and co., Red Dead 2 is set in a fictionalized version of the southern United States on the cusp of the 20th century. Now, there are a lot of potential pitfalls for a game that has the Wild West as its open world, with sparse settlements and rolling landscapes with little to do, threatening to bore. But Red Dead 2 is anything but boring, and its open world is a huge part of why. Marauding around the Wild West on the back of your trusty steed is absolutely thrilling, and the way in which the game's lighting, visuals, and soundtrack all marry up throughout its various time and weather cycles just help sell the charm of this world even more. The most important detail here, though, is how it all feels so lived in. Man and nature combine to impart one of the most authentic gaming environments of all time, and one that's incredibly difficult to top. Number 2. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is an action-adventure game developed by Sucker Punch Productions and published by Sony in July 2020, and one of the best console exclusives ever released. The PS4 title sees players take control of Jin Sakai, a samurai warrior and the proud head of the Sakai clan during the first Mongol invasions of Japan. The game boasts a huge open world set on the beautiful Tsushima Island. Ghost of Tsushima's world offers up an idyllic and picturesque depiction of feudal Japan, with tranquil farmlands, proud Shinto shrines, forest lands, and a plethora of exotic villages ripe for exploring. Plus loads of cute foxes to pet. I figure that's a pretty important detail to mention too. But there are a few other tricks that help make Tsushima's open world one of gaming's very best: navigation and art design. Instead of relying on traditional waypoints and icons everywhere, you have the guiding wind and visual cues to take you to your intended destination. The game looks like an oil painting come to life at times, and if you want my personal favourite part of the map to relax in, it's the Golden Forest. Simply stunning at sundown. And number 1. Horizon Zero Dawn. One of the finest role-playing games of the 2010s, Horizon Zero Dawn follows a hunter named Aloy on her quest to scale through a post-apocalyptic world overrun by powerful machines and learn more about her past. The world is absolutely gorgeous, with the Decima game engine that was originally used for Killzone Shadowfall being altered for Zero Dawn. Anthropologists were consulted to ensure the world looked as accurately post-apocalyptic as possible, which lends the whole game with a real sense of authenticity. For an open world that really captures the escapist bliss that only video games can provide, Horizon Zero Dawn should be every player's go-to. And those were just 10 of the most beautiful open-world games ever released. Which title do you think looks best? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're down there, it would be amazing if you could like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to WhatCulture Gaming so you don't miss another upload going forward. It would be great to have you around. That's all for now though. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do at @HumanRuinsThings, but in the meantime, I hope you're well, and I will see you soon. Bye!